Hey, it's Jack, and this video is called How to Make a Man Miss You. Hey, if you're new to the channel or you haven't yet subscribed, I'd love to encourage you to do so. I'm Jack Butler, I'm a relationship coach, and I release new videos more than once a week on personal growth and relationships. Just hit that subscribe button, tap the bell notification, and then you'll hear of new videos as soon as they come out. And I want to extend an invitation to you. If you are a woman and you're looking for more in relationship, or you're looking for a relationship with the right man, I've got a new webinar. It's called the Relationship Ready Preview, and it's the 6 steps that me and my teaching partner have to be relationship ready. And it's also a chance for you to get a preview of the Relationship Ready program, which I know a lot of you have been interested in. So just click the link, find a time that works for you in your time zone, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Okay, so how to make a man miss you. This is a popular search topic. So if you've been asking this question or you're just curious about this topic, I'd love for you to stay to the end, because I think this is going to be a very different take than most people on YouTube will give you on this topic. You know, so if you're wanting a man to miss you, let's just unpack. What does that really mean? It probably means something like you're wanting a man to want to spend time with you, take the initiative with you, care about you, kind of show up and be proactive in relationship with you. And so what I want to do, rather than talking about tips, tricks, or tactics, I want to get to the fundamental animating dynamic, the fundamental dynamic that happens in a relationship that I think is one of the key dynamics to determine whether a guy is going to step in and take the initiative with you. And the dynamic I'm talking about, or the polarity that I'm talking about, is the space connection dynamic. Space and connection are arguably the two animating forces of relationship, right? On the one hand, we want to be in connection, we want to be in contact. On the other hand, after a while, for most of us, and particularly for men, there's a movement into wanting to take space. And it's from that taking space that I think that most men have their desire for connection, have their desire to take initiative and to be in connection with you. So if you're wondering how to make a man miss you, what I want you to get curious about is, particularly if you're in a relationship, or maybe you can think back to past relationships, how able were you to create space, or to allow him to create space in the relationship, be okay with it, and realize that from that place, that's often where his truest and most authentic desire to connect with you will come from. Said differently, what happens for you when a guy is taking space, or when he's retreating, or when he's pulling away? Because none of this is about making you wrong, it's about getting you curious about what's happening. If when that's happening, you sense like, oh my God, where's the connection going? Oh, I think the relationship's over. Oh, I'm doing something wrong. Oh, I don't like this. Any version of that might actually be cheating you of the authentic desire that he can bring to create something with you, to create a magical experience, to take you on a date, to take the initiative in the way that you're talking about and the way that you might want. And you might not have looked deeper to see, oh, okay, space and connection, this is a polarity, and it's what, you know, in techno speak, we call it a polarity to be managed, not a problem to be solved. And what that means is, rather than it being a problem to be solved, like there's a specific solution to it, it's something to be managed and to be paid attention to. It's an ongoing dynamic, just as night and day. It's not a problem to be solved, it's a polarity, it's an ongoing, right? So there's night, so there's day. For most people, they're going to be flowing, most relationships are going to be flowing between more intense periods of connection and then some experience of space. And that experience of space, particularly given that generalistically, or in gross orienting generalization, probably more men than women tend to be on the avoidance side, right? That actual ability to have and take space is where the ground for then wanting to step into connection might come from. So if you're wanting a man to miss you, notice what your response is to him taking space. Notice if you are filling the relationship with connection, but it's not actually having him initiate. Notice if you may have slipped into your masculine and you're the one that's making all the initiative and arrangements in the relationship. And notice if that's what you really want, or notice if there's something else that you want that might actually be more possible for you if you're willing to look at this underlying dynamic and to notice and honor his needs for space, but also to honor your needs for space, right? Most people have a need for aloneness, self-time, rest, self-care, retreat, and restoration. And it might be that you and your partner have very different needs for this. It might be that you have minimal needs, or you might have maximal needs for this. But this is an invitation for you to really notice, what is my relationship with space? What is my relationship with stepping into my own autonomy? right? It's another way of talking about space, right? Rather than us being in connection or in a mutual reality, I'm stepping into my own autonomy, I'm stepping into my independence, I'm stepping into my expression. What is your relationship with that? Is that alive for you? Is that foreign to you? Is that something that you might want to cultivate in service of actually having deeper connection? Sometimes how these polarities work is the more. So I'll give you an example in a very different realm. If you're a high performance athlete, you're going to train hard, but you're also going to rest hard, right? So that means that to perform at a high level of intensity, you've also got to be really taking care of high quality rest, right? A lot of athletes will sleep during the day, nap during the day, or they know that if they have a hard training session, or even if you are a high performance athlete, even if you or I go to the gym, we know that after that, it's often to our benefit to rest, right? Or if you want to run well, you don't necessarily want to go for a run every single day. If you're training for a marathon, you don't necessarily want to run every single day. Your recuperation and rest days are important. Similar thing in that dynamic between space and connection. It can sometimes be the more. The more you have high quality connection, the more you may need to take high quality space. And the more you have high quality space, the more you may actually have high quality connection, right? The more you actually restore, or you allow the relationship to restore, or you allow both parties to be in their autonomy, pursuing their own goals or the things that you care about or the things that specifically nourish you, taking your attention off him, taking your attention off the relationship, putting the attention on yourself, noticing what nourishes you, animates you, brings you aliveness, that actually the more that happens, then the more quality there is to bring to the connection. You might have had the experience of sitting across the breakfast table or the dinner table from someone you're in a relationship with or your partner, and sort of noticing, hey, maybe there's not too much aliveness, maybe there's not too much to talk about, because actually neither of us is really fully expressing our autonomy and stepping into the experiences that generate us and that bring us joy and creativity and aliveness. And actually the more we do that, the more there is to connect over, right? So this can be a little bit of an upward spiral of the more the high quality space, the more the high quality connection. And this is also just an invitation to find what is true for you about that dynamic. Sometimes people are afraid of moving out of connection because they're afraid of feeling what they might feel, right? Or they're afraid of actually putting the spotlight on themselves, right? Or they're afraid that, hey, if I'm not giving value to you, right? If I'm not helping you, supporting you, championing you, cherishing you, making things for you, then you might not actually want to be in connection with me. So sometimes in order to trust the ability for the taking of space in a relationship dynamic, you have to actually trust that your value isn't just located in your doingness, that your value is at least in part, and if not truly and absolutely related to your beingness, just related to being you, and that you are enough and your authenticity is enough, and that you bringing value into the relationship is not just about a performance for the other person, it's not just about making yourself invaluable by all the ways you can help them. It's actually about bringing the real you and your full presence and beingness into the connection. And for most of us to do that, we need to be in contact with ourselves. And for most of us to be in full contact with ourselves, what do we need? We need a minimum effective dose of time on our own where we can actually contact ourselves and be in connection with ourselves, know what we think, feel what we feel, know what our thoughts are, right? To actually metabolize what's going on in our life. It's difficult to do that if you are never on your own, if you're always in connection with other people, if you're always thinking about, worrying about, concerned about other people. It can be hard to have that deeper, soulful, heartfelt, real-time, presence-based connection with yourself. So all of that to say that as you look at this relationship between space and connection, if you look at wanting to create more space potentially so that the more desire and initiative can arise in the relationship, if that's the dynamic that exists, then you're also going to have to look at, what is my relationship with my own taking space, my own self-time? And the more I can find value in that, the less I'll be afraid of my guy taking space, the more I'll understand his need for it, right? Most guys, the animating dynamic for them is action rest. So they need to take rest in order that they want to step into action. You know, if they're on all the time or they're super stressed in their work, that's probably not going to be the place that they're going to step into most initiative with you and creating things in the relationship that they want to bring to the relationship. So the more you can align with your and his need for space, the more you will probably align with your and his need for connection. And in doing that, you'll have a man miss you naturally, or what I think is a more authentic take on having him miss you is that he actually wants to just see you, create with you, spend time with you, cherish you, love you, right? Which is probably, if you're a woman and you're watching this, that's what you really want in a relationship, is a guy that's showing up in that way. Now, I've been involved in things like marriage classes where people say, well, look, he used to do that, but he doesn't do that anymore, right? And so if that's true for you, one of the things you might be curious about, if it's true that for most men, their highest value is freedom, you can look at, to what extent are you aligning with that value in him? To what extent are you championing his freedom? Now, I'm not talking about messy boundaries or going outside the relationship or anything like that. I'm just talking about how much are you aligning with his desire to feel free and his desire to experience his autonomy and his desire to actually fulfill on the things that he really cares about, that his heart cares about, like his mission or things that are important to him. Knowing that the more you do that, actually the more he's going to be available to bring to the relationship. This is really an invitation to inquiry, right? An invitation to inquiry means I'm pointing out some vectors of reality. I'm pointing out some possible animating dynamics for you to say, hey, let me take a look at that. Let me take a look at what happens when I take space. Let me take a look at what happens when he takes space. Let me take a look at the relationship between space and connection. Could it be true that, like a high performance athlete, the more? Maybe that's not true for you. I'm not telling you what's true. I'm inviting you to notice so that you can actually bring more dimension, more truth, more reality, and ultimately get more connection in your relationship, which probably, if you're still listening at this point, what you may want in your relationship is more connection, is more him showing up in ways that feel good to you, that there is a real and genuine connection. And this might be one aspect that you've never really considered that might open up that for you. May that be so. I hope so. As always, questions and comments below this video, and I'd like to make an invitation again. Join me for the free webinar. It's completely free. It's 90 minutes of your time. You can just click the link, find a time that works for you. It's a brand new webinar. I think you'll like it, and I want you to be supported in being the most relationship ready that you can be. All right, I'm Jack. Thanks so much.